In this lesson, let's talk about repurposing content we've already created in another application, for example, Microsoft PowerPoint, to reuse in our Adobe Captivate 5.5 project. Actually, what we're going to do in this lesson is create a new project from those PowerPoint slides. If you already have content that was created for another e-learning project or for a completely different reason, there's no point in redoing all of that content. Why not just use your existing content, bringing it into Captivate, and then adding some of the Captivate features such as buttons and so forth to make it unique content. So that's what we're going to do here. So let's get started. From the Welcome screen on the Create New side, choose From Microsoft PowerPoint. I'm going out to the Lesson 3 folder, and I'm going to the file called Type in Covered Bridges, which is a PowerPoint project. I'm going to click Open. It gets imported and all those slides get converted into Captivate slides. And then we're going to get another dialog box where we can make some choices here. First of all, it brings up the name of the original file. We can change that if we want. It brings up the current size of the slides. And if I want to resize them, which I try not to do if at all possible, make sure you choose Maintain Aspect Ratio if you are going to do that to help keep things in proportion. Down here you have a slider with a preview of all of your slides, so you can decide which ones you want to bring in and which you don't. I have a slide here out of my 6, slide number 5 I really don't want, so I'm going to uncheck that box. That way that slide will not be imported. So it's telling me I'm bringing in 5 of the 6 slides. Under the Advanced Slides section, I have 2 options. One is on mouse click and one is automatically. If you choose on mouse click, you're going to get a giant click box over every slide that allows the user to click on that box and automatically advance the slides. I'm going to choose automatically for now. That way I don't have those click boxes because I really don't want them in this case. The other option is linked. I recommend leaving linked on because that way your slides stay linked to the PowerPoint project. If you go back and make any changes to that original PowerPoint project, you'll have the option of updating that content in your Captivate project. Again, to make things as easy as possible so you don't have to do double work. I'm going to go ahead and click OK here. Bring in those slides, and there we go, and there's my project. Notice it's 5 slides where the original PowerPoint had 6, but I chose not to bring one of the slides in. So there's my content. The first thing I want to do is I want to go in here and change the display time for my slides. Notice that each of them has a display time of 3. Now I could have changed that in my preferences ahead of time, but I want to show you another way you could do it. I'm going to select the first slide in my film strip and then go down, scroll down, and use my Shift key to click on the last one so that all the slides are selected. And over in my properties, I'm going to change my display time to 6 seconds. While I'm here, I'm also going to change the quality of my slides. I'm going to use JPEG. Now it's coming up and giving me a little warning message saying it's going to increase the size of my project. Use this option only if the slide contains a photo, and obviously these do have photos. I'm going to click OK here. That way I get a slightly larger project, but I get better quality for my slides. Okay, so it's looking good so far. The one other thing I want to do is to allow my slides to advance. I want to add a button. So again, as I mentioned, I've brought in PowerPoint content, but then I can add Captivate features to really pump it up a little bit. So I'm going to go to slide number 1, and then I'm going to go over here and choose my button tool. Puts a button on the page, and then I can decide what kind of button I want it to be. Now you have a couple options here. If there was a graphic already in place, or if I wanted to bring a graphic in of a button that perhaps I created in Photoshop or Illustrator, then I could put a transparent button over top of it that would simply have the action. I can also use a text button, which is the one I'm going to use here so that I can put my own text on it, or I can use some of the existing image buttons that Captivate offers, and here are some of the different choices that you can pick from. I'm going to choose Text button. I'm going to move this down into position, and I don't like exactly the way it looks, so I'm going to make a few changes to it. Up under the Edit menu, I'm going to go to Object Style Manager. Now on the left-hand side under the Standard Objects, I'm going to click the triangle to show my standard objects, and I'm going to choose Button. Over here on the right, I have some options on different kinds of buttons that I want to make the changes to. I'm using the text button, as I said. I'm going to change my font, and I'm going to use one that I've used throughout my project. I'm just going to use simply Myriad Pro. So I'm using Myriad Web Pro here. I'm going to change the size of my text to 16, and I'm changing my color to white, and I'm making it bold. I think that looks good. I'm going to click OK. Now it didn't update the button on the screen, so what I'm going to do while it's selected is go up here to the top of my properties, to this little button right over here on the right, and choose Reset Style. Now it reset to bring in my new default text button style, and there we go. Now it says button, I really don't want it to say that, so I'm going onto the general section of my properties and changing the caption to say next. Now the user will simply click on that and go to the next page. The final thing I need to do here is make sure under Action that On Success is chosen to go to the next slide. I have lots of other things I could make it do, but in this case, I just wanted to simply go to the next slide. Now I can put that button in place, and I could go in and recreate that on every slide if I wanted to, but who wants to do that? So I'm going to right-click and choose Copy. Now it's on slide number 1. Now I'm going to choose slide number 2, and then shift-click to select slide number 6, right-click, and choose Paste. And Captivate's putting that same button on every slide in the exact same spot. Again, we don't have to redo things if at all possible. We certainly don't want to do double work. And this is where that word repurposing comes in. We're using content we've already created in PowerPoint, and we're going in and creating some really compelling content in Captivate using the Captivate features.